So Costas, you just threw a very good idea about a topic that we should be discussing. Can you just repeat it and explain it to me a little bit, because it was awesome but complex at the same time.
It's a very important topic for all brands that kind of like left the COVID era, that when they started to grow pretty significantly because demand was really inflated during COVID. And CPAs, ROAS numbers were also inflated, and now that things are starting to become more difficult to achieve first order profitability, a lot of these brands are, they're not prepared to really achieve first order profitability. Some of those brands, they really need to readjust top line expectation growth, and essentially control the growth a little bit better in order to achieve profitability. We're actually seeing a lot of these brands, having a lot of opex, for example, the same opex they had 2 years ago, like 3 years ago with COVID, essentially. So they were hiring a lot of people that were just trying to achieve top line growth. And, like 2 days ago, I had a discussion with a brand, and, they went in debt essentially for the last 3 years. And this is because like 40% of their total revenue was going towards paying people to sustain the business. And so the business needed to become more linear in order to spend more money to acquire customers. So push more spend towards towards acquiring more customers instead of paying people, for example. So all e-commerce businesses need to become more linear. They need to adjust top line expectations in order to become more profitable.
Interesting. So let me take a few steps back, and I would love to understand why you think that change happened after COVID. Why has it become so much more difficult for brands to be profitable on the first touch point with first sale with a customer?
Yeah, and the easy answer is because like retail was closed. Like that's the first indication of inflated demand. This is why demand inflated so much on social and e-commerce, essentially. So e-commerce was essentially doubling year over year during COVID because retail stores were closed. And now you see, e-commerce is growing, for example, since last year, anywhere between 70 to 20%. So things are kind of like readjusting. And this means that we as brands, like we also need to readjust our expectations with it. Because again, like more people were buying online, and that means that there was more inventory. There was excess of inventory in those platforms, in Meta, Google, all those platforms. And therefore you had lower CPAs, you didn't have to do a lot of work to produce better creative, static images were working better because, like supply demand was higher. And so now, we just need to adjust ourselves to the new reality. And so essentially, like if you see like e-commerce and ads, right, all the way back to 2015, right, you had this arbitrage opportunity that was Facebook ads essentially in 2015, and there wasn't a lot of competition, right? And then all the way to 2018, like competition was starts to rising. Again, we had really good CPAs still. And then 2019, this is where COVID hit, and so essentially that inflated the demand because again retail was closed, and so CPAs went even lower. But now we have no arbitrage opportunity, so essentially competition is higher than ever before, and also we don't have any amazing opportunity like COVID, for example, where demand was super high to get advantage of. So essentially we are in new reality, and it's very difficult to get to first order profitability for most businesses.
Interesting. And what do you see as being, so first of all, let me ask you, you're saying applies to every e-commerce business out there, including somebody starting out right now, or is it for more established brands that already have traction, already have revenue, and they've seen the dip?
I'll say it's more, the dip is more obvious when you have a business to, like 8 to 9 figures. Like you can see like the dip is more like stiff, like when you kind of like see the pattern of your revenue from, let's say you have an e-commerce business for the last 10 years. You've been through multiple phases from 2015 all the way to 2025. And you can see around 2022 23 where demand starts to getting lower, and you kind of like see the rising of your new customer acquisition. It's more obvious. Now for startups and businesses that maybe they're doing anywhere between mid 5 figures a month and they're doing 6 figures a year, or very low 7 figures, because they're very new to the game, they haven't, like maybe if they started a couple of years ago, they could grow even more aggressively, but because they're young brands essentially, they don't really see the difference. They already play a difficult game essentially.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So what is the solution, or what are the if we were to say 1, 2, 3 steps that either a startup or an established brand should consider taking in their business to essentially get out of the hole and improve the results? And also I would say, so maybe that's a first question, is how, in what way they should change their way of thinking?
Yeah, I mean, everything is controllable in a business, right? Like a business, like you should structure the business relative to the attributes it has. So, for example, if you already have a really nice office, or you have a bunch of people, right? Like right now, if you are like paying more than 25% of your revenue goes to opex, and you're operating an e-commerce business, that's already too much. Like you need to understand that you need to operate below a 20% opex in order to survive, because you need more money going towards acquiring new customers, not paying people, essentially. So you need to run like a lean organization. That's like the first step. Like that's the basic rule. Because like we're looking at P&Ls and we are seeing, for example, like clients come and tell us like, hey, like we need a 4x ROAS to be profitable. And I'm going through the P&L and I'm seeing, more than 30% of the revenue goes towards paying people. And I'm having conversation with the client. I'm telling him like, like you need to take a difficult decision here. You probably need to lay off some people. You need to fire some people that not necessarily move the needle for your business to survive. Because a 4x at $100,000 spend a month, like it's not possible. That's the first step. Like just run a lean business. The second, I'll say, just try to find leverage wherever you can in terms of your cost of delivery. So try to see where you can save on transaction fees, where you can save essentially on margin. Like if your 3PL is ripping you off, which is another conversation. Just try to find where you can optimize for the highest margin possible. That's second leverage. And then you need to understand that your growth will come through a calendar mostly. So exceptional results and really high ROAS and MER in the account will come from like producing a really effective marketing calendar. So look at like, for example, like most e-commerce businesses are seasonal. Like let's take fashion, like in particular, right? Like they might have like some collection are performing better than others. Some fast fashion brands, they also include swimwear, and therefore, during the summer they have another peak, and they're just trying to perform peaks month over month with their product and their marketing calendar, and through different promotions that already exist in the culture. So Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, whatever you can do to position yourself, your brand, and your product towards those moments. Because we've already seen that whenever we develop moments and we put them into the ad account, they're just outperforming anything else. And we're able to spend more on our target CPA and achieve desirable scale. Yeah, and then you need to, after you develop those three things alone, if you have product market fit, you will be able to achieve, like, I'll say mid to high seven figures. After that, you just need to produce better quality creative. You need more video. Like, you can achieve like 7 to mid seven figures with still images and some basic video, but then after you're gonna go to that, you know, low 8-figure range, you need more like better quality video to scale. But everything needs to be connected to a really, really amazing marketing calendar that includes product, cultural moments, promotions, new product releases, and so on.
I love that. What's the difference between a good and a bad marketing calendar? I mean, I guess the worst is not having one at all, right? And just going blindly and just kind of rush at the last moment to do something when the holiday is already here. But what would be the difference between an average or a good and a great marketing calendar?
Yeah. So, and this is something like if you see the biggest brands that exist, like Nike, Adidas, you know, Lululemon, Gymshark, like all those really big brands. Some of those brands also, like, they start as D2C brands. For example, Gymshark, right? They start as a D2C brand. Or if you see like more recent D2C brands like Reach Wallet, what they like, just to give you an example, like last year, the team that won essentially the Super Bowl, you know, in the finals, they already have purchased the license of either one, like for those two teams, they've already purchased license for both of the teams before, you know, they play the match, so they can produce product, so they can produce product with their team logo on them. This is like a marketing moment. This is like they produce wallets with the logo of the team that won to sell to customers that love, you know, the team that, you know, win the Super Bowl essentially. So it's just so insane to go, like, this is what you need to grow profitably. Like, you need to think above and beyond. You need to think events, about marketing moments that already exist. Like, all the marketing moments and the cultural moments that already exist. For example, again, Valentine's Day, New Year's resolutions. We have St. Patrick's, you know, next year. Think how you can connect all those moments with your brand, and then think about events. For example, once every 4 years, we have the Olympics, right? Like, try to see how you can connect those moments with your brand. And I think everything comes down to research, right? Like, some brands, for example, that are super eco-conscious, you know, like somewhere along the calendar, there is an Earth Day, right? Like, just try to connect with that day and run a promotion or a new product that really emphasize on that culture, and you will acquire more customers, and most importantly, customers that didn't even know you. And now, because you launch a new product that's more eco-conscious, like, you can talk to those customers. Like, through your calendar, you can achieve more growth and more new customer acquisition. I'll say there are brands that have achieved growth, like evergreen their way into big success, but I believe they're just very, very limited. And also, they were able to capitalize all the arbitrage opportunity that existed before COVID and during COVID. So yeah.
No, that makes sense. So essentially, a great marketing calendar is not just mapping out the holidays that are coming and just saying, hey, we'll do this offer on that holiday. Trying to, like you said, create a moment around the holiday, do a new launch, do something that seems that there was actual effort behind what you're doing, and you're not just lowering your prices, which is something that everybody does, and it's kind of raised to the bottom, right? So it's just not enough anymore.
Exactly.
Whose responsibility would you say it is to come up with the the moments, the key moments that the brand should have? Is it the brand owners? Is it the marketeer? Is it the marketing agency? Who would you say it, or is it a combined effort of these two fronts?
It's a combined effort. Like it, I think the best success we had was on like having like combined effort on both like the agency side and the brand side. Just try to brainstorm. Also try to have the brand owner or the marketing manager, either the brand owner or the marketing manager, be on those meetings because they know the brand more than the agency. And they can like understand their customers a little bit better. They can, speak to their customers a little bit better. The agency can give insights on how to structure the calendar, or like most agencies, they have some institutional knowledge that the brand doesn't have because we're working with a bunch of clients. And so they can give insights about how to create and how to go about the calendar. But I think the internal team is responsible for coming with the messaging while agency is giving ideas. Because at the end of the day, every brand is different. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's where I've seen the most success. Like if we speak with somebody and they're like, I want you to run my brand completely autonomously and I don't want to be involved, that's not really a brand. That's not a business. That's not a, in my opinion, like a proper business owner. That's somebody who just wants to build something and just get some money out of it and not looking to build a brand. But where I've seen a lot of success, whether it's e-commerce or like courses, online courses, SaaS products, is where, like you said, the business has the best insight about, and it has actually data that a lot of times the marketers cannot acquire regarding feedback and actual like concerns and pain points, the customers or the clients will have, that they need to analyze, or at the very least bring into the surface with the marketing agency they work with and say, guys, here's what we hear. We are unable to decipher them, right? If that's the case, which usually it's not. And then say, help us decipher them, or help at least bring some ideas with us. But like you said, agencies will have marketeers and institutional knowledge, and they'll know how to leverage the tools. They might even know how to phrase some things better, or do some competitive analysis and see what potentially is working for other people. But at the end of the day, you have to craft your own language. You have to craft your own messaging that's kind of unique to your own brand, and you can't expect that to just happen magically out of the ether.
Yeah, and you're totally right. And like nothing is going to beat the internal team of the brand. Like bigger brands, they have both like internal teams and agencies working within the accounts, and social and whatever. But your internal team, like the internal team and the agency, need to work together in like kind of like have like a healthy competition, right? Um, and I believe nothing is going to, like, if you train and a good internal team for your brand, like internal team will always produce better results because they're just going to do more work. It's just like what it is. It is what it is. But like an agency can bring like new perspective to everything you do. Like you can actually like develop leverage through partnering with a good agency. So yeah, so I think it's like you need to work together in conflict with like agencies and internal teams for
Yeah,
success.
I am a little bit. I agree with what you're saying. The main key criteria is, and key like element there is that the internal marketing team has to be trained and be somehow motivated, because I've seen a lot of times where internal teams will just kind of slack and let time go by because they're like getting paid hourly or whatever, so it doesn't matter for them. And I've seen the same thing with agencies, right? Where they'll get a fat retainer, like they'll get a big retainer, and so they're not incentivized to do any kind of work, rather than just let months go by and they'll just drag their feet and just kind of like have excuses. So that's a big thing. Let me ask you something that we've never actually talked, and I'm interested. how do you see AI, ChatGPT and all these tools being helpful or not helpful with everything we just discussed, with helping brands grow, really, right? Whether it's analyzing data, whether it's helping with the messaging, whether it's, with any kind of form of assistance that they can give. Because I can see scenarios where business owners and even more marketing agencies will rely heavily on ChatGPT and other LLM tools, other AI tools out there to do their work. Where I believe the right approach is to leverage those tools for either analysis or help improve and refine things rather than do them for you. Because at the end of the day, I still believe that the humans are superior in a lot of ways. They can get help and assistance from tools. But yeah, what's your take on it? I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't think I think there. I think you can use AI, and we use AI, and I know a lot of really great creative strategies that use AI and the way they're using it. One of the ways I kind of use AI and for essentially, okay, like if I want to build a plan, right? Like we want to grow, let's say 30%, and we want to increase profits by 80%, next year. I would really like just leverage all Shopify data last 3 years, let's say, like all Shopify data, just give everything to AI. And essentially, with the right prompts, AI can give me all the peaks and valleys of the business and, give me ideas essentially for how we can turn those valleys into peaks essentially throughout the year with product launches, different promotions, like like things that I can import into my marketing calendar, and then find messaging with the internal team or with the brand owner to actually connect promotions, connect, like see how we can turn those valleys with the right messaging into peaks so we can make more profit, because the valleys is ultimately what is plateauing the business. Everyone can make money in Q4. So that's kind of like the first way. The first way I would use AI is kind of analyzing all the peaks and valleys and provide recommendations and ideas on how I can turn those valleys into peaks, so I can put those ideas into the calendar that I'm already creating. The second way, I think, and is already like brands already using this and creative strategies, is to come up with briefs, right? Create like ideas for creative briefs, because I don't know if it's come to the to the point that AI will have the same empathy as humans. If that's going to be the case in the future, I believe like we can use AI for pretty much everything. Um, but I don't think that that will be the case. But you can still get so many concepts. Like to me, AI, like it just erases like 1 or 2 hours of ideation. Like ideation, I struggle with ideation because I'm not a very creative person, and that like really solves a lot of problems for me, because I can come with a lot of concepts, a lot of messaging for the brand to use to develop creative, which is great. I think there is more to come to that field with creative strategy. And the second, I think I think designing and editing will become obsolete, because I think like AI will have the ability to edit, create like amazing creative with the click of a button,
That's
and edit
actually,
videos at volume at a really high scale.
yeah, I've actually seen lately there's a Google VO2 called, where it can do phenomenal videos with the right prompts, right? So you have to describe what you're looking for, but it does great work. And now there's even tools out there that I haven't used, but you can actually go on the video and say what kind of edits you want in the video. So we're eliminating even the video editor that used to be needed. So that's very interesting. So analyzing data, which is very important. Well, I had a client the other day who doesn't know how to use ChatGPT, in my opinion. And what they did is they went on ChatGPT and they said, for this industry, what is the statistic? What's the margin that I should have, and how much I should be spending in marketing? And of course, ChatGPT gave very generic answers, right? That do not reflect in reality, and even more, do not reflect on what their business should be doing, right? So now it's a discussion of, did you actually provide data about your business to ChatGPT? And the answer was no. So you just got a very generic answer about what in the world people should probably be doing, and there's a range there and stuff. And that goes back to properly using AI, and not just being very generic with it, because you get very generic answers, which can lead to your demise, right? If you just follow that advice and you start dreaming down from wrong parts on what you should be doing. And the other thing you mentioned is ideation, which I also love, right? Like getting a lot of ideas. ChatGPT is amazing, and any of the LLMs really. And if you provide it with enough information, then the ideas are going to be very good as well. I never advise people to just take the ideas and use them. Always read them, always confirm that you like what it's saying and it aligns with the brand voice, the brand offers, the brand positioning, everything. But it does help save a lot of time. That's what I've seen as well.
Yeah, like for example, Triple Whale also like has like you can build forecasts now with AI. Like I've tried to build one for one of our clients, and it was, for example, very, very optimistic. Also, like it doesn't take into account like cash positions, right? Like cash flow, cash conversion cycle, like all those things are very important for the business in order to order inventory and all that stuff. So there's still a lot of improvements, but I think those three areas, soon enough we are going to see amazing improvements. So ideation, like that's going to become it's already fantastic, but I think it will become better. Creative production and edits, I think, like we will be able to produce a lot of creative at volume. And again, like, anything that has to do with, data analysis.
I agree. I know you have to go very soon, but do you think there's anything else that we should mention to help anybody will listen to this episode, or anything we left out?
Yeah, I think just try to be ruthless with your new customer acquisition. Don't try to chase LTV, CAC to LTV ratio if you don't have a proven model that supports it, like subscriptions or any other model. Yeah, just try to be ruthless with your new customer acquisition.
Awesome. Process. Appreciate you, man. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
All right, Telas. Dat ook op zullen